So I'm thrilled to be talking to Mr. and Mrs. Dean about the Dean Collection.
Hey.
Yes, for the Giants exhibition at the Brooklyn Museum.
Big deal. Big deal.
We're excited.
Yes.
So I want to begin by asking a question that I know you get asked a lot, but I would love for you to talk about evolution, how you began collecting in art and how that's evolved over the years, in terms of just your strategies and what you're thinking about when you're collecting.
As I see it, it is very much a gut, intuitive perspective. And I really feel like you have a very special intuition as it comes to art, as it comes to what's coming up in art, you know what I mean? Where it's going to go. And I don't actually personally know how he does it, because he really has a knack for this thing. All I know is that if he tells me that it's going to be good, I'm following, because he knows what's going to be good. And I just have to say it is what it is. So what would you say is your strategy by it?
My strategy is collecting from the heart. A lot of people call us Black collectors. We're art collectors. We happen to be Black, but we're art collectors. We collect artists from all over the world. And, when you look at art, no matter what part of the world is, we don't look at art as, what color is this artist? My first thing is, how did this person make something so beautiful? Is it available? I don't go into what color the person is. The reason why we double down on artists of color, Black and brown, because our own community wasn't collecting these giants, but we would go to other people's homes that were non-Black and brown and would see their house is blacker than ours. And it was like, wait a minute, time out, what's going on? And then we was chasing the Warhols, the Miros, the Chagalls, all these different things that was being put in front of us. Kahinde wasn't being put in front of us, right? So my strategy was to collect. Our strategy is to collect living artists as much as possible, because those artists can use our support now and today. Our strategy also is to make sure all artists are represented under the Dean Collection, not from a financial standpoint, but from a representation, because we don't feel like we own any artwork. Right. We feel like it's a welcome to the family. How can we own those works that we can't produce ourselves? Right. So it's not so transactional to us. It's more of a family thing when the artist gets put in the Dean Collection.
What you said is absolutely beautiful, and I think it really leads into my next question about the mission of the Dean Collection. You talked a lot about family, you talked a lot about living artists, and so I'm wondering how that might feed into a mission about, the Dean Collection.
The mission of the Dean Collection is to collect, protect, and respect. And that's really the whole energy behind this giant exhibition that we're doing, and that's really what we want to talk about. And it's also meant to not only make sure these artists know that they're family to us, and I think one of the most important things that we always talk about is by the artists, for the artists, with the people.
Yes.
And I think that's what separates us from really everybody. It's the fact that we are also artists. And I think as creative people, creative beings who understand what it takes to make something out of nothing, what it takes to create a vision that nobody could see before you actually executed it, and how important that is to be able to uphold that, respect that, and admire that, and really support that. I think that's what makes us come together so genuinely and honestly, and that's a big mission. So being able to uplift artists that are really creating the vision for the future, you know what I mean, and how it looks and how it's going to feel and how it's going to speak to society and how it's going to speak to what's happening in the world. And we do that as well. So it's kindred, And then I think the mission is also about being able to introduce our family, our kids, our our loved ones to be able to see themselves on the wall, to be able to know our stories in much deeper ways. These artists, so many of the artists that we support and collect, they have so many powerful stories that they're sharing through the work. And it's stunning. It's stunning. It's mind-blowing. And, you know, for our kids to be able to see that, learn about that, feel that, even without knowing about it. Genesis is 8 years old. He's running around his house, and this is what he sees on the walls. He doesn't know what the backstory is. He has no idea yet. But he knows that he sees himself. And that's so powerful.
I mean, that's why the title Giant is so important, because the artists are giant, the people are giants, and the works that they're going to see are giant, oversized works on purpose. So when they come in there, they say, wow, like somebody that looked like me painted something so amazing and at this magnitude. Now people get to see, okay, we can have big pieces, we can own big pieces of our culture as well. And so I think that's a part of the mission as well, is to show people that, we have to be the biggest collectors of our culture.
I started answering a bit of a question that I was thinking, but another question I thought of is, because the title is Giants and, the work is giant and we're thinking about giant ideas, you were talking about how sometimes people are afraid to kind of think of their most kind of giant selves. And I just thought that was such a beautiful kind of poignant statement. And so I just was kind of thinking about that, and just the way in which this show is just so giant and kind of, showing you guys in a different way. So I don't know if it's a slightly different question.
I love it. I love this question. I mean, I do think that so many of us have trouble seeing ourselves in our highest, grandest vision. A lot of the times, most of the time, myself included, we are always trying to kind of shrink ourselves down to fit a certain distilled version that someone else is going to feel comfortable with. And a lot of times we can spend our whole lives trying to find our way out of that, if we even know we do it at all, which most of the time so many of us don't. And so we put ourselves, and we accept these small-minded circumstances because we can't even see ourselves being anything but that, And so I think that's another really powerful thing about this giant exhibition, is to be able to see yourself outside of the normal places you find yourself. And I think that's what makes it so thrilling for us, because, I mean, I definitely never thought that I would have an exhibition at any museum of works that I owned, that I collected with my partner and husband and best friend in a significant way. What? Never. I mean, I don't even feel like 5 years ago I actually had that thought either. He probably did, because he's actually really good at thinking really, really big, and I love that about him. And he for sure has helped me to learn how to think bigger about myself, and I think we can now collectively help each other think about ourselves different and bigger. So to me, this is one huge way that we're expressing ourselves in a giant fashion. And I think this is a big expression that's outside of our norm. Mm-hmm. And it feels really good to have the confidence and to have the opportunity to express it in that way, so that it can touch other people and say, like, yeah, me too. I can do that too,
Are there any takeaways? Are there any ideas that you're hoping that when the visitors come, that's what they go, ooh, I went to this show and I thought this and this and this, or I felt this and this and this? What are you hoping people will take away?
We want people to feel welcome. We want people to see themselves. We want people to feel inspired. We want people to take in the beauty of what is here and what's there, what you're gonna see. We want you to feel connected and emotional and really discover artists that maybe you know of, maybe you don't know of, maybe you're seeing for the first time. We want you to see the giants of whose shoulders we stand. We want you to see that you are also a giant, that you are special, incredible, unique, one of a kind, that every person in this that's hanging on the walls is just like you and I, you know. We start with a blank piece of paper. We all start with a blank piece of paper in life, you know, and so what are we going to write on it? What are we going to draw on it? What are we going to say on it? What are we going to show? What are we going to care about? And I think that you're going to find so many topics and points of view and emotional places. You're going to feel proud. You're going to feel, even us, I mean, to be honest, we'll never have seen all of our works in one place like this, ever.
And this is not all the works. There's only 100 and something pieces.
We will not have seen these pieces hanging in one place all together. This is a first for us, as much as it is a first for the museum, and as much of it is a first for everybody who comes.
I really appreciate the time that you guys spent chatting with me this afternoon, and I'm excited. I know everyone's going to be excited about this project, and thank you for sharing the Dean Collection with the Brooklyn Museum and the world.
Man, thank you too. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Woo!